Denise, on behalf of the audience, can you please explain why did you want to change? What did you change about yourself? And what have you become in the process?
Whoa, that's a lot of questions, John. Let me first begin by saying I think change was foisted or hoisted. Is that the right word? Like, it was forced upon me.
Yeah, hoisted upon you. Yeah.
Yeah, because back in 2020, November 2020, I got knocked down by my own car. And I know there's a story in there at some stage or at some point, John, but I definitely think that it kind of changed. It made me kind of change things around an awful lot. And by that I mean, like, up until that point, I was marketing. I was doing mentoring and training and consultancy. So I'd go into an organization, John, and I'd go in and I'd help them out with their marketing message in particular.
Very good.
What happened, I suppose, when I got knocked down, I suffered concussion, and then I suffered post-concussion syndrome. And so I couldn't think. And so I often kind of think, well, I couldn't write. So what do you do? Like, I was a writer, but I couldn't write. I was a thinker that couldn't think. I was a trainer that couldn't train. I was a doer that couldn't do. And then I kind of started thinking, okay, when I kind of came out of the fog of the concussion, I realized that, you know what, things kind of need to change and just do things a little bit differently. So I suppose I'll use that word, John. I pivoted, from being purely marketing consultant to being a marketing mentor. And it's in that change that I realized that, you know what, I kind of love telling people what to do. I love kind of sharing my knowledge and saying, God, you know what, this is what you need to do. And them going and doing it rather than me doing it for them. And then also I just love the idea of like burying my head in a book, lots of books, kind of pulling stuff together, John. I'm getting a lot of information together and then actually going and taking all that information, putting it into Denise-ify it, for want of a better word.
I know what you mean.
And then actually put it out into the world. So then I prefer, I get so much more enjoyment when I train and when I tell people what to do.
So just to go a bit further into the whole area of making the move from being a marketing consultant to being a marketing mentor, at what point did it click with you that perhaps I need to change here, aside from the concussion I'm talking about? At what point did you decide to shift your focus from being a marketing consultant to being a marketing mentor?
I think I can tell you the day. It was the 6th of February, 2021. And I was doing a little bit of work. Now I have been doing a bit of work with a consultant and talking about consultant, but I had been working with a mentor all through 2020, Paul Davis. And so we had been working together on building the business and working on different things. And so pretty much and I was doing something very mundane. It was like one of those aha moments. I was on the 6th of February, I can tell you that. Actually almost 2 years now, John, where I kind of just clicked that, do you know what, one of the things that I'm kind of here for or to help people to do is to really just step into their own, into their own power of being visible and actually helping people to make a difference. And so I can't really explain how but it was just kind of it was almost like a bolt of lightning that kind of hit me. And that's when I kind of said, you know what, I get more enjoyment and I'm able to help more people if I tell them what to do. And actually, when I say tell people what to do, I mean when I mentor people and I have so many ideas for them, but they go off and do it, I get much more enjoyment out of it rather than me sitting down to do it, because I'm an ideas person and I've got loads of ideas. But then sometimes when I go to do them myself for other clients, then I kind of get a bit bored. And because I get bored, then I'll move on to something else, but may not finish something. So that was never so there was this kind of cycle that kept going and being repeated, where I was like, oh, you know what? Yeah, this is really exciting. I think this is what you need to do. This is the direction you need to do. And all kinds of marketing ideas for a company. And then when I went to do it, then I'd get excited for a while, but then I'd get a bit bored. And so that was kind of a cycle that needed to be broken. And I kind of just realized that on 6th of February, 2021.
So effectively what you did was you found your purpose as a marketing consultant or marketing mentor, I should say. And when I look back at my own experience of hosting the GYFT Show Ireland over the past 2 years, initially I was very much kind of intimidated by the whole process of becoming a virtual show host, because the whole world was in lockdown at the time, but particularly the Western world, that is, and China. And the only way people could communicate with each other was through Zoom or Microsoft Teams. So I developed the whole theme of the gift show, and it's taken me almost 2 years to become competent as a gift show host. And I think when you do something like that, it really gets you out of your comfort zone. It makes you think about yourself and the value you can provide people with. And I think I've come a long way over those 2 years. And I can see a big improvement in yourself in terms of your direction of your business. So well done to you.
Oh, thanks, John. Appreciate that. That's I really appreciate that now. Yeah, like, and you know, a bit like yourself, John, it's not like being a road of not being like an easy road, you know, because it'd be easier to say, oh, I'll do your marketing for you, you know. But at the end of the day, I think you need to be who you are and who you're meant to be.
Yeah.
And do what you're meant to do, because you can even see it in you, John. Like you're so relaxed about it, you know, you're like, this is me, take it or leave it type of thing. And I think that when you get to that stage in what you're doing and the value that you do, then I think for me, I'm going to turn it back into marketing, because I always do, because I love marketing, but it's an idea where you like attract and repel. So you attract the right people to you, and then you repel the people that you don't want to, like, you know, the tire kickers, the people who, you know, they're tire kickers for a reason, aren't they, John? So I think that when you get to that stage, you just kind of exude this kind of energy where it's life is just easier, you know, like, you know, and marketing is easier, and doing what you do or doing what you love is just easier. And then you just get that buzz. And I think when you've got that buzz about you, then people can see and relate to that buzz, if that makes sense.
I know what you mean. Yeah, that's a good point. So just moving the conversation along here, Denise, have you been tempted at any stage to consider developing your own online course as a marketing mentor? And if you have, what trials and tribulations have you suffered in that journey?
Well, I suppose the idea of even starting, I suppose that will be a trial and a tribulation of actually trying to start. Yes, I have, would be to answer your question. And I have actually done online training programs in the past. I had a Finishing Strong program, John, and then I had a Starting Stronger training program. They were about 4-week training programs with business owners, helping them, like, you know, get to grips with their marketing as they finish the year, to finish the year strong, or then as they start the year. So I have, like, you know, dabbled, and I gotten some, like, you know, success with them. And then, of course, then life comes in the way, and I didn't kind of start them back up again. But and I think it's consistency, really. It's actually kind of doing what you want to do. But in terms of other training programs, like in 2023, I hope to launch the Marketing Momentum Bootcamp. That will be in March time, probably the end of March. And then I've also got an idea for a copywriting training course, John, because, like, I love words. I think it fascinates me, like the art and science of copy. I know I wrote a book back in 2011. Ooh, gosh. That's when I had to pivot during the recession, you know, of 2008, John. That's gone back a while, but I'm still fascinated about, like, you know, words and how they play out in the whole marketing sphere. So I'm looking at doing an online training program that will actually kind of bring in that whole idea of the shiny object syndrome that is ChatGPT. That one, because I think that, yes, there's AI and it'll make our lives a little bit easier, but there's also emotion and calls to action and all that good stuff that, like, you know, what you still need to add in yourself.
I saw a very interesting post by a very experienced professional speaker from the United States. His name is Andrew Davis. And what he was talking about on LinkedIn, or should I say writing about on LinkedIn the other day, was when he records the video as if in his spoken English language. Yeah. Whereas if he tries to put that video out and record it in the way he writes English, it would sound completely different. And he might not get his message across as easily as he does when he's just talking to the camera naturally. Yeah. I think that's a skill that a lot of people have to learn. And it takes time and practice, to be quite honest.
For sure. Like, yeah, John, I have to agree with that. Like, you know, it does, but it is a learnable skill. And actually there are ways, you know, like there's flow words that people don't even, like, you know, flow words are words that, like, you know, people will say in conversation all the time. John, wait till I tell you. So John, wait till I say, what do you think? You know, all these kind of little flowy words that, like, you know, that we'll say in conversation without even thinking about it. But then actually, if you have them in your content, then you can actually easily, like, lead with sentences that, dare I say it, like, that our English teachers would never have approved, back in the day. When we were at school, we go, how do you start a sentence with so, like, big slap on the hand for that. But that's the kind of flow words that really kind of add to conversation. So when people are reading it, they can actually hear the lilt in your voice or lilt in their own voice, John, when they're actually reading it. So it's great like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think also the odd filler word or mispronunciation makes you look human. Whereas if your production is just too perfect, people don't really get that. They'd say that's not very authentic. It's just too perfect to make it believable. Yeah, so moving along then, so you're now developing your own online course, and you're going to put it online there very shortly. So good luck with that.
Thanks, John.
Do you see Denise Fay going next? Do you still see yourself as a work in progress or the complete marketing guru?
Yeah, jeepers, marketing guru one side, work in progress another, very much a work in progress. I think that, what, it kind of goes to your theme of change, John. Like, the only constant really is change, isn't it? And it's that constant improving oneself. And I think that that's not to say that I wouldn't be happy where I am. Look, I'm very happy where I am. Where do I think I'm going? World domination for sure. But in terms of what, like, in terms of where I'd like to go, it definitely is world domination. Ireland is a small place, but the world is huge and it's full of opportunity. So that's definitely where I'm going, definitely with the training programs, definitely with the mentoring. But it's also taken time to see, like, enjoying the process, actually, I think more so than like that. Because I think before, I was so ambitious when I was in corporate life, John, so ambitious. And like, I'm still ambitious, don't get me wrong, but like, it was always the end result. Whereas now I'm actually just kind of enjoying it. Like today, just to, I gave the training for YouTube marketing for my Achievers Club. That's my membership that I have. And I just totally enjoyed the research, as I said earlier on. I just totally enjoyed delivering the training. I totally enjoyed, like, seeing the aha moments going, oh, yeah, that's a very simple 5-step process you've given us. Boom, 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 boom. So I'm enjoying that. And that's what I really want to kind of enjoy and to be able to, like, put out into the world. Just help people make a difference.
Yeah, I think what you're saying there, in essence, Denise, is that you enjoy developing your own intellectual property and getting it out there into the world and getting people to buy, and seeing people, I should say, people buy your intellectual property and your online courses. That for you is a measure of success. Whereas I know from my own experience of working in the multinational sector, you're given a job to do maybe a project, you see it through, you get applauded for it if it goes well, you get criticized if it goes wrong, of course. But at the end of the day, it's the business itself is the winner. You only get your salary. But what you're doing here is you're creating your own intellectual property. You're going to launch it now very shortly to your client base. They're going to buy that product. And from that, you're going to see clients giving you recommendations, video testimonials, all that good stuff. And you'd see a benefit in that because that's going to give you more credibility as a marketing guru. So good luck to you in that regard.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, like, it's all about, like, building a community of raving fans. You've probably heard me say about that before. Yes. And, I suppose I never really looked at it that way, John, about putting my own stuff out there. But like last year is one of the years I don't know if I mentioned to you offline before, but like I created the Fay way system. Like, it's a 6-step system to marketing. And I guess I've always used that structure, but I never put any words to it. And so now I have put words to it, like the Fay way. So it's a system that'll bring you, like, right through from the foundations, right through to, like, creating a community of raving fans. And so, like, yeah, that's going to be one of the highlights of 2023. Like, a good work in progress, John, for that. Like, a lot of work to be done on it, but like, hopefully it'll be, like, just so exciting to do.
Of course, yeah. And I think what I would say to you there is, which is what I'm doing myself at the moment, is don't be afraid to ask people for feedback. Relevant feedback, that is, what am I doing well? What could I do better? And take on board those messages from people. And then you can actually identify where you actually need to improve your content or your output. I think the feedback is the food of champions, as they often say. Mm-hmm. And it's good to ask the right people the right questions, and hopefully you get the right answers in that regard. So yeah. I think there's plenty we can all be working on. And what I've found is that over the past 2 years, as I alluded to there a few minutes ago when I talked about the gift show. Now, it took me a while to become a competent gift show host, but all along the way, I've been developing my own intellectual property. And, I've got over 200 and odd subscribers to my YouTube channel. But I want more, of course I do. But I have to get out there and get the message out there to people in the local community here in County Meath, County Kildare, for example. Get them to become my tribe, get them to follow my show. That's what I need to work on next myself, is to get out there, have meetings with people, even people you don't know, get conversation flowing, show an interest in them, and then they'll show an interest in me in return. That's how you build your tribe or your community, I think, so you have to make the effort to get out of the house and, pound the pavements, I suppose you could say, and get to know people as people. That's my next step in my journey, obviously. So I'm looking forward to the challenge. There's always challenges in businesses and growing businesses, no matter where you are on your, journey to becoming, a successful self-employed person. Yeah.
I think whatever step you're at, there's always challenges. And then when you get to the next step, you kind of think, phew, that, whatever that was that you wanted, whether it's like financial, whether it's resources, whatever that step is, then you've got that. And then it's like, but that itself brings its own challenges. And so then there may be new challenges that you may not ever have known what they were until you got to that next step. So, but look, you're right. I think it's all comes, I think that you're right about getting out and look, whether it's online or offline, just getting to know people and have connections and chats with people. Like I'm a big believer in connecting with people, and it's important, because people can feel that connection and they can feel that you care about them. Like I care about people, and I know it's one of those things, like a lot of marketers would say, like, oh, I do care about people, but I genuinely care about people. The people who are in my Achievers Club, like I care about their success, and that's what's important. It's that whole talking to people, communicating with people, connecting with people, saying, like, if you see something that reminds them of you, or something that you see, you go, oh, that could actually help John out, and just going to send that on to John. Those little things, it comes down to the little things, John.
Yeah. One final question here for you, Denise, and it's probably on a more personal level. You talked about the fact that you suffered from concussion yourself back in 2021, I think it was. And now I know your two sons play rugby, and concussion in rugby is a big debatable issue at the moment, particularly at the professional level and the adult amateur level. How would you feel if one of your sons suffered from concussion?
If my son suffered a concussion, look, you'd just be there to support them. I mean, I've seen the rugby training, from Lucas, now 13. He's been playing rugby since he's 7. It's amazing how the training structure for rugby is amazing. And I'm not kind of going off topic, I'm not going off topic, John, so stay with me. Yeah. But I've seen how, they train the young kids these days in rugby, where, it's, they train them how to tackle, they train them how to fall, they train them how to do all that kind of stuff. So, I know that if he was to, if he was to suffer, it would be it wouldn't be intentional, I suppose, as well. But look, you just have to get through things. I think that if that happened to him, there's many types of concussion. So you just actually have to see, what would help him out and just support him. I think really, it's a support. You can get concussion anywhere, I suppose. You could fall down at any point and hit your head. Is it more likely at team sports like that, perhaps? But I think it's definitely, I think the HIAs and rugby training is very different than what it was, say, 20 years ago.
Oh, indeed.
How the kids are being trained these days.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more awareness of the whole area of concussion within rugby union and rugby league also. Both of them are sports where it's, heavy body contact, and there is much more awareness, and I think there's better identification and treatment of concussion nowadays at all levels of rugby union. So thanks be to God for that. Yeah. So this has been a very interesting conversation. And my takeaways from today's conversation are that it's never too late to change direction in business. And citing the example of Denise, where on the 6th of February 2021, you decided to transition from being a marketing consultant where you were doing a lot of hands-on work on behalf of your clients to becoming a marketing mentor where you give the clients the ideas, then they have to implement those ideas themselves. That's a great example of change in a business. I also like the idea that you've taken on a bold step, I suppose you could say, to develop your own online content. And you're now going to be launching that very soon. And I think you've learned a lot about yourself as a professional speaker and marketing mentor in terms of that project, because it's very easy to become demotivated, I suppose you could say, when you try to produce content and you feel it's not good enough and you have to go back and back and back to really get your message right and get it succinct so that people can clearly understand what you're talking about. In that regard, that requires a lot of, perseverance and motivation. And I think you have that in spades. And also, I think you talked about your own concussion. You didn't allow it to take over your life, and you became a better person for it, and you have more clarity around your business. So I think you're on the growth path, and a large growth path that is. So I think well done to you, Denise, for all
Thanks,
that you've
John.
done over the
Appreciate
past
that.
couple of years. And before I let you go, is there anything else you'd like to say to the audience?
Well, I want to say thanks to you, John, for a start. But the other thing, I suppose, you just kind of mentioned it there, I suppose, about motivation and keeping going. I think one of the things that, like, it's an over bandied word, like resilience. People talk about it, and then some people don't have it. But I guess it's focus, I suppose. And you also mentioned in the interview, like, when you've got, like, when you're on your purpose and you know where you're going, even though you don't know how to get there, and you know that you're growing and all that kind of stuff. It's great to have that resilience and that motivation and that kind of push, internal drive to, like, know that you're helping more people than yourself. And I think that's, if you can find that within yourself, I think that's a really good thing to do, in terms of just knowing why you're here and how you can help so many people. Like, you're helping so many people, John, with this show, for the listeners that you have and the listeners that you will have in the future too. So I think that just knowing that you're on the right path is a really good way. And even if you don't know how you're going to get there, but just find yourself on the path, and just stay true to who you are.
This has been a fascinating conversation, Denise. And on that note, I'll bring today's conversation to a close. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John.